Hello everybody, I am Shepard and welcome back to Let's Play Unreal 2. Now there was actually a problem with the sound for this one. I don't know what exactly happened. It was only with this particular episode and I don't know why, but it didn't record my commentary and it didn't record my basically the sound of the game either for some strange reason. I don't know why. But either way, I'm going to do post commentary this time for this one. Unfortunately, there's not really much else I can do because the save game was overwritten, and since I have finished it and I've uninstalled it as well, which makes it even worse. And I no longer have a hard copy of it, so I couldn't just reinstall it, redo it all over again, or anything like that. So I don't know exactly what went wrong, but it's kind of taught me a lesson to check after every single recording. But at this point I was really hanging on by a thread. We were still in the Drac planet at the time, and it was literally just hanging on by a thread. I only had one health at this point, and there was, I was getting plenty of the overseers still appearing and with their fucking railguns and everything else, and then the little droids coming along to repair them and everything else, and it was just, it was a little bit monotonous because it was kind of the same thing over and over again, but it was a case of just having to keep on going. I know it's not the same without the actual sound. I do apologize for that. I really don't know what happened. When it came to Unreal 2, I was using fraps, and for some reason the sound just did not kick in at all. I don't know why. And it was really infuriating, as I'm sure you can imagine. But in this part, we actually went on to finish the Drac planet, and we actually went up against the boss and everything. And yeah, it was tough. It was a tough enough boss, as we're going to see as well. At this point, I was just checking my objectives just to see what the story was, and I started pushing buttons and seeing exactly what it was they were going to be doing. Dalton there said, "I'm going to be sick for a week after this," and it was a little bit weird. That was a Skarrj that was actually still alive, minus a couple of limbs. I was kind of sort of gawking at that for a minute for some reason. I don't really know why, and yeah, it's not the last experiment we're going to come across before we finish in this one. It's actually weird being on this side of it, where I'm actually doing post commentary for an entire episode. I've done it for something like Zombie Shooter 2, where I was just, I was stuck and I was just doing it in my spare time or whatever. It's a little bit different doing it for an entire full-on episode, though. That's 29 minutes and 38.96 seconds long. I think here was another one of those overseer jobs. There was two of them here, and basically what I had to do was I actually had to kill both of them, like completely and utterly destroy both of them. I made a boo-boo there, I think, and that one actually got back up again, I think. Or did I actually get the thing? I'm not sure. No, I actually got it. I actually thought that one was about to get back up again. But there was a second one just over on the wing here, and I actually had to take out both of them, which would open up that there in the corner, which was basically a gravity lift, and that brought me up to the sort of the heart of the Drac hive, and we kind of went up from there. It's a little bit annoying as well because I had gotten back off the planet, and there was a bit of talking between the crew and everything, and yeah, it was a bit annoying, but it wasn't really anything major. But I'll explain when the time comes as well. At this point, I'm just sort of jumping up there, trying to get up in typical gravity lift style, and we come up here, and then I get attacked by another one of them, another one of the overseers, which appears over in the corner over there. Now these bastards are actually really tough because it actually takes 4 to 5 rockets just to take them down. I think here it took 5, I think it was. Oh no, it took more actually. I think I missed with one of the rockets though, so it does only take about 5, because as you can see I missed with actually 2 rockets, so it only does take 5 to take one down, but that's still, you know, quite hefty. There's a lot of rockets to take down just one of them. And I was just using my frag grenades just to, you know, wipe them out, save my other ammunition. You know, I should have kept my EMP grenades at the start of this mission, because I was kind of regretting not keeping them and just sort of using them willy-nilly. But I was kind of figuring, oh, maybe they'll leave ammunition around, like, you know, more EMP grenades, but no, it didn't work that way, and I ended up using them all at the start and not having any of them sort of for this stage, and it made things kind of a little bit more difficult, I'll have to admit. Here's another one now, and this part was actually a bit tricky just after this, because in order to proceed through here there was this sort of security grid. Now here I was just destroying this. I know that there was probably no need for it because I couldn't see any of the repair drones, but at the same time I didn't want to be I just wanted to make sure. Here's this security grid type thing I was telling you about. We have to get through that somehow, and I'm telling you, it wasn't bloody easy. Because if you touch off the beams at all, it'll just, like, you know, wipe out your health pretty much. It'll do a good 20 to 25, maybe even 30 damage for every time you touch off one of them. So I think in the end, when it came to actually doing that part, I actually had to pause the recording because, you know, I was just dying and dying and dying and dying and dying, attempting to figure out the pattern, because it works in a type of pattern, so it's not random and it doesn't change. It's always the same. You just have to figure out where the gaps are and use the gaps and basically get into the gaps where the lasers aren't actually appearing, and it's not that easy when you can't actually see very far from a distance, because there's just that many of them that it actually covers your entire vision, to the point, like, here there's only 4, but as you go further in there's like 8, 9, 10 in each part, and you just have to keep going and going and going and going and going. And in the end I just, you know, I got caught pretty much here, and I died, and I think I tried once more, but then I just paused the recording because it was just, I don't know, I'd say by the time I paused it and actually got through, I'd say I died about another 6 or 7 times trying to get through it. But I got through it anyway, and then basically we just have to go up that ramp. I think I took a bit of a look around first though, just to make sure there was no ammunition lying around, which there wasn't. And then we sort of go up here, and that's basically where we have to go, is in there. That's where the artifact is, and that's where the boss is. But there was one more experiment to see, and that was this one. And basically it was kind of the end result of what they were trying to achieve, which we'll see now in a second. And me being me and being curious and all that, I kind of fiddled around with it. Also, I was overly delighted to see that I'd actually got an EMP rounds, and I think I got a little bit more ammo for the shock rifle, I'm not 100% sure. But this was the end result of basically the Drax experiment, where they kind of combine different species together. Like in this case, they combined the Skarrj's body with a human head, and I think that's a Kai's arm. And as you can see, the thing's going fucking berserk at this stage. And I said, let's just continue tying around with it, so I electrocuted it, pissed it off even more, and then all of a sudden it got super angry and broke the containment and came flailing at me like a fucking beast out of hell. And I said, okay, that's fine. I'm like, no, it probably won't be able to hurt me that much. Next minute, smack, just, and then I fell down there and I ended up dying. I said, oh well, because they're sort of different, they're not going to be able to do everything that the Skarrj can do. They're not going to be able to do that leap through the air or anything, but of course they can. So I said, right, fuck that, and I actually didn't bother going back in again, or basically disturbing them again, and I kind of just carried on my merry little way from there. I just left him to it hanging there. So here I'm just basically making sure there's no more ammunition lying around. I didn't even bother going back down there to see if you do fall down, can you get back out, because I don't know if you can or not. But I wasn't going to waste any more time trying to find out either. So basically we're going into the actual Drac hive now, I suppose you could say, or the mainframe, whatever you really want to call it. And you'll be able to see the I actually let it load here because it was pretty quick, I think. Yeah, I did. I just let it load because it was loading very quickly. And then the boss decides to make an appearance, which is basically a big ass version of the standard Drac. And there was no talk or anything, it was just showing this, and you can see the artifact there in the center, and then of course the big ass Drac comes out of the center. Now this guy can split into two as well. He's got kind of his main frame, and he's got this secondary frame, and he's, you know, he splits into two, and it's quite challenging. It's a good boss. It is a good boss fight. I will admit that, but it was sort of easy at the sense that he can't really harm you as long as you have cover between you and him. And it was hard to actually hit him because half the time he was away from you at a distance, and by the time you probably went after him, he probably would have moved again. So I decided to just literally stay exactly where I was and attempt to blast him with EMPs. But that alone wasn't enough. I shot rockets at him. I shot the car at him. By the end of this, the shock rifle. I pretty much fired nearly everything at him. It didn't help the fact that, you know, there was actually ammunition in the bottom on the ground floor there, along with plenty of health and shield. But I wasn't kind of going to risk running around looking for ammunition and things. I just decided to play this safe. But there is actually ammunition in that down there, which you'll see once I do beat him, because I went and actually looked then. But you know, it probably would have made my life a little bit easier. It would have made the fight a bit quicker because there was plenty of EMP grenades and things down there. But as I said, like, I just wanted to literally kill him as, you know, as safely as possible. I didn't want to take any risks, and if it meant using up, like, you know, using weaker weapons, so be it. Now here's where one of the occasions where he actually split into two. That's the main frame down there. And that frame can't actually damage me at all, or at least I don't think it can, unless it got too close to me. Then it might be able to shock me or something. But this was basically his attack, and it turns into a kind of an almost laser beam, kind of like the Link gun in Unreal Tournament, or the secondary fire in Unreal, the first Unreal Tournament of the pulse rifle, where it's just one long beam, and basically once you actually beat him, you're actually able to get that put onto the other weapon, you know, the Drac railgun. That Isaac actually turns on a secondary fire that allows you to do that exact same beam. It eats ammo, but it does the job. So it is really, really handy. And it was kind of here where I went on the offense as opposed to defense, and I just started running around after him, and I just kept blocking on the rockets to him. But eventually he goes back into his full form again, and then the whole rigmarole starts over again. And this kept happening and happening and happening. I think he must have split about 3 times. And it really took me a while to actually beat him. I'm not sure exactly how long. I suppose we've been fighting him now for about 3-4 minutes. And it was a tough battle in the sense that it was grueling and grinding. It wasn't excuse me, it wasn't particularly difficult though, because I just had that line of defense with the pillars and that, where I could just block off his attack all the time. The one thing that I will say about this area is that it's very similar to that of the final boss of Unreal 2, or sorry, Unreal 1, where you fight the Queen. It's practically the same design. The only difference is the middle. There's the first floor, second floor, but there's not that platform in the middle. And that's about the only difference between this room and the final room in Unreal 1. So that kind of, that was a little bit negative for me, because I just felt that I'd already been here before in the previous game. And I don't know, I just didn't like the design of the room, because it just felt like I was doing the same thing again. I was in the same area, it just looked different, slightly designed different, and just a different boss. It didn't kind of feel very original, I suppose you could say. But I suppose when you think about it, I don't know what other way they would have really done it. You know what I mean? It's a tough one to really call. And I just kept on beating away at him. I kept beating away at him with the railgun. I was literally just firing everything at him. And I stayed in the one spot for a good bit of the boss fight, but then I kind of had to go chasing after him, and I ended up actually being on the other side by the end of it. Basically, when he splits, you just need to get rid of that thing as quick as possible, destroy it, and then just go after his mainframe and just take him down as quick, do as much damage to him as quick as possible before he gets back up flying again as a whole unit. And it wasn't a particularly difficult fight. It just took time. You just had to keep beating at him and beating at him. And the fact that he was behind that pillar didn't bloody help either, because it was hard to hit him, and he kept moving and moving as I got closer to him. And I had no choice but to get closer to him because of the fact that he was behind the pillar in the first place. So this is kind of why I went over to this side. But I still used the same tactics. I just stayed behind the pillar and just kept beating him down and beating him down and beating him down. But if you are going to play this yourself, when you get to this point, just remember that there is EMP grenades down on the bottom floor, and there's lots of them too, so there won't be any shortage. So you'll be able to make this fight a lot quicker than what I made it. It's literally just the fact that I didn't feel comfortable enough to go wandering. I said there probably is, but I'm not going to take the risk. I'm not going to just die. I'm just going to take a complete and utter straight stab at this, and that is exactly what I did here. I just did a complete and utter straight on, like, warfare at him. But he should be going down now pretty soon. It's just a case of I just kept beating at him, and that was it. And it's kind of it's after this now that the story actually starts to get a little bit interesting. Because you got the last artifact. Until now, it's just been kind of get the artifacts, get the artifacts, get the artifacts, and you're not really. There's no real story there. Like, the only story that you're really getting is the story of your crew. Their background story, like Isaac and Ida and Aban. You're just kind of getting their backstories along with John's as well. Sorry, I was just taking a drink. But it's now that there's actually a story progression for once. And I think that's something that was a big letdown about this, is that there was literally no story progression in the game up until after this. It was just, you didn't know what the artifacts were about. You didn't know why you were getting them, other than not to let the Izanagi and Skarrj get their hands on them. And that was about the only reason. And here he goes now. He's going into absolute overdrive. And this takes him about bloody 20 seconds, I'd say, before he actually blows. But yeah, that felt like the only reason why you're actually doing what you're doing, is because you just don't want Izanagi Corporation, or you don't want the Skarrj or anyone else getting their hands on the artifacts. That just felt like the only reason. But we never knew anything about it. We never knew why or what they do or what their purpose was. We were just literally, for about 80% of the game, we were just doing this and not even knowing why. And the only interesting bit about it was the fact that we got to learn about the crew members' past, and who they were and why they're on board the Atlantis. And it just felt very, very, very sort of boring to a point. And then the fact that we were fighting fucking ridiculously accurate human troops for half the game didn't improve things either. It made things very, very difficult. To be honest, if you're going to play this and actually have fun playing it, it would probably be best to play it on maybe normal difficulty, hard at the very most. So we're back on board the Atlantis, and basically what she's saying is that we have to go down to the planet and basically meet with Drexler, and the artifacts are actually going to stay on board the ship for now, because she doesn't trust Drexler at all. And basically here, Dalton's praising Isaac for being able to keep the ship in tip-top shape during the whole campaign, and he's sort of saying maybe you should say that he's done a good job. And she says maybe I will. Here in the Bond's asking will he need a pilot during, when he reassigns to the Marines, and John's saying that he'll put in a good word for him. And now we're basically looking for Isaac. I wasn't quite sure what was going on here. I wasn't sure whether Drexler was coming on board the ship or whether we were going on down to the actual planet. But it turns out they actually do go down to the planet. So we went looking for Isaac, and then I don't know why I went looking around. I kind of just said, well, he's probably in his sort of engineer's bay. So I don't know why I went looking around in the crew's quarters and everything. I really don't. But we end up going back down here to where Isaac is, and we go in and we talk to him. And basically, Dalton's saying, like, I'd say you're looking forward to going back, but oh no, he's going on about the direct laser. Oh yeah, the alt fire and the direct laser, which is the beam. Sorry, it was actually before that he was going on about not actually getting any alcohol and bringing it on board. That was actually in a previous episode. Sorry, but he's basically saying that the alt fire is like a sort of beam that'll just mow down a room full of bad guys, to basically quote what he's saying. And then we just sort of leave it at that, and we actually head on down to the planet. We got a look at all my weapons and everything while I was there. It's pretty cool sight seeing a locker full of your weapons. And then we just sort of head on down and go on to the next mission, which is on Avalon. I think that's what the planet was called, Avalon, something like that. I actually let it load here as well. Was I right? Was it Avalon? Yes, Avalon. Odyssey Odyssey 4 Avalon Terran Connolly Authority HQ. And you actually, so you get your cutscene here, and as usual at the start of every mission, and Naban basically pilots your little shuttle down. It seems that John doesn't actually pilot that himself. It appears that Naban actually does it from up in the actual ship. And there we are, going down. Next minute, this big ass fucking beam comes up, and basically it's the planetary cannon. Basically the defense, and John gets hit, and all you hear is "Arrgh!" And of course, typical crash landing. He's still in one piece, miraculously. Things upside down. Everybody's worried, saying, "Oh, we're all right, we're all right." And it actually turns out that the Skarrj have kind of taken over the place. The Skarrj attacked and took over, and it turns out that Drexler and the others got out, and they're currently on the Dorian Gray flagship. So yeah, fun times. That's basically the planetary cannon. And we don't really go too much further than this, because I sort of said, right, this is where we kind of better leave it for this part. I just go a little bit further up, and then I leave it for this part. But not before we get attacked by a few Skarrj. I kind of made a mistake here, where I was using a sniper rifle kind of against a big ass Skarrj in a big ass mech suit, which is kind of a bad idea, because it doesn't really do much to them. I should have probably used rocket launcher here, or something with a little bit more firepower, but I just said fuck it, and I said, I've shot this many times, I'm just gonna finish him off, you know. And I didn't really know what to use, so I just kind of went with the rail gun. And I'm not sure if I actually took out. No, I didn't. I didn't bring out the alt fire in this one. I do though. I do bring out the alt fire. I'm not sure if it was in this, if I did it in this episode, or if I did it in the next. But I did bring out the alt fire either way. The good thing about using the car here is that it can give you a chance to get actually some distance between. Ah, there we go. Yeah, it just burns them to shit, but it eats your ammo. That's the good thing about using the car here. Actually, it can get you a bit of distance between you and them, because they actually just block it off with their blades and their really quick reflexes, fucking ninja style. So if you want to get a bit of distance between you and a Skarrj, just fire that at them, and it'll slow them down, because they'll be too busy blocking it off, and it'll give a chance for you to actually get a little bit of distance between them. And we just sort of head up here, and then we get attacked by another two, I think it is. Well, there's one there anyway. And I just start firing the Magnum. I just said fuck this, and I just started firing it. And there's the other one there, actually. And I was taking my shots pretty easy too. I wasn't hurrying with it, because I didn't want to kind of waste my Magnum ammo, but I just continued on. They really wrecked up the place too. But we're just coming to the end of this part now, and as I said, like in the next episode, it continues on as normal. Like all the sound works, and there's no problems with the commentary or the sound. So it's only this episode that the actual post commentary needed to be done, which is, you know, it is infuriating, but you know, that's computers for you. Shit happens sometimes, and it just goes completely wrong for you, and it's extremely tedious, to say the least. It is very much tedious and very, very annoying. But anyway, I'm going to leave it here for this part, guys, so thank you very much for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed the video, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Thank you, and have fun.